Jordan, you guys got off that really hot start against LSU, and then things didn't go as smoothly. I guess from your perspective, what kind of changed between the start and the finish for you guys?
I think the execution level on our part, they're a really good football team, and we're a really good football team, but I don't think it was anything that they did special, that kind of got the end of the game the way it was in the score. I feel like you said, we got to a really hot start, but execution level just kind of went down a little bit. I don't know if it's because we got comfortable or what. Really, that was our first road test in a hostile environment. So, we just got to come back. We got another hostile environment this week. We got to execute better, when times get tough.
Just kind of an aftermath of all that, just kind of describe, practice the past couple of days now that y'all were 0-1 last week, as you like to say, going 1-0 every week. Just what's the past couple of days of practice been like, and just in response and retaliation?
Yeah, we just want to go 1-0 again. Each week's a different opponent and a different task at hand, and like I said, we're going into another hostile environment against a really good football team again. I think they haven't played at home in a couple months. We got a night game there, so, the environment's going to be crazy, and we just got to respond, and play our game. I think we got to just connect on all three phases of the ball, special teams, defense, and offense, and just play as a unit.
Is there anything different going on this week offensively? Did you guys change anything, or is it more about cleaning up some of the stuff?
No, I don't think anything's different. We scheme just like anybody else in the country does. We have certain plays that we run and based on their defense, but I don't think anything's changed. I think we just, like you said, we just got to execute better and come out and just play a really good football game, complete game.
I think you kind of touched on it a little bit right there when we were talking to Jackson down in Baton Rouge. He was talking about, despite playing in the toughest environment they had played up to date at that point, that it had nothing to do with that. It was stuff that y'all could control. I mean, did you kind of see that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think penalties really hurt us. I think that's one of the things we got to get better at. It's kind of been a problem all year. I think penalties on offense just has to be a lot better, and we have to be disciplined enough to, kind of play clean football.
You brought up execution. How do you execute better, especially when things maybe aren't going the way that you want them to go during a game?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to practice a little bit. They make practice hard. Practice should be probably harder than games, and we train. That's when you go back and you rely on your training from summer, from spring, from camp, and I think that time prepares you for when times get rough, and you just kind of got to put your hand in the dirt a little bit, and like you said, just execute better, I think that's what really pertains to that, is just your training.
As a receivers group, when you see that it's just Quinshawn, y'all are down Zach, and Bentley still coming back, is there maybe pressure y'all put on yourselves to kind of help the run game or help take that off of Quinshawn when it's just him back there for a whole game?
I think we hold ourselves to a really high standard anyway. And I think just with our offensive scheme, I think that we can run the ball, we can pass, we can do it all. And I think that's what makes us so special, is that not just when somebody goes down do you feel pressure, but we put pressure on ourselves regardless of situation, because defense can make adjustments just like offense can, and we got to be prepared for that. And if they shut down the run one game, we got to be prepared for the passing game to open up a little bit more. And I think you've seen that throughout the year with different games, like Vandy coming out throwing for 400, and then the next game against Auburn coming out and running for 400. And I think that's what makes us so special as an offense.
I know you were in the portal last winter when A&M was putting together that recruiting class of theirs. Were you paying attention at all to what was going on there and kind of the impressiveness of that all?
Not really. I don't think I was really interested in A&M as much as some of the other SEC schools, but it definitely was eye-grabbing of what they could do, and I think they were bringing in a lot of younger guys, a lot of guys from high school, and I think that's what their class pertained of. But they have some really good young guys who can go out there and play, and I think they got a lot of young starters on defense.
When you kind of think back now to when you were being recruited in high school, how much different do you think it would be today if you were getting recruited in an era where people go into the portal after their freshman year, after their sophomore year, they can go anytime.
Yeah, I think it's got to be hard for guys that's coming out of high school, because people, I would say the difference between a transfer and a freshman coming, out of high school is that the transfer probably has a little bit more experience. They've been in the system a little bit, and you don't have to babysit them as much. And I think that's what the difference is. And I think it's got to be a lot of pressure on the guys coming out of high school because you are battling with guys who have been in the college system. So I think it's got to be hard on them.
You talked about execution. When you looked back and looked at the film from LSU just as a whole unit, how many plays were there where you just kind of look at and just really wanted to have certain plays back?
I think just off the top of my head, I think one that we missed a little bit on Mingo. When he was kind of running open a little bit. It's just certain plays like that, and I don't think it was. I think it was about 18 to 19 minutes of just bad football as a whole. Not just, particular plays, just on offense and defense. I think that we just kind of, both units kind of just played really bad football in that, time frame.
That hot start, and then you score 3 points the rest of the game. Is there concern from the offense, or is that just that game is in the past, it's done, we're moving past it? How do you kind of take that all into account?
There's definitely not a concern. We know what we have on offense and, the weapons that we have, and I think, we can go out and play with anybody in the country. But, like you said, we just got to put it in the past, and it's kind of, going a little bit. And we want to say play each opponent. We don't want to look back. You don't want to look ahead. You just want to be prepared for that moment and who you're playing this week. And I think that's our mindset right now.
When you watch your opponent rush the field, after a victory like that, does that just go to show just kind of the standard that y'all hold yourselves up to and just what y'all are capable of?
Yeah, 100%. I think that anytime somebody rushes the field, I think you've earned their respect a little bit, and that kind of shows you a little bit, I think what other people think that we're capable of, and I think Ole Miss football is, making a name for itself a little bit, and, people just should look out.